Saw dudes. Shards of Galanor got buffed with Season 23, which now causes throwing knife kills to grant 2.5% to 5% super energy depending on enemy rank. This is on top of the old perk, which causes Blade Barrage hits and kills to refund super energy up to 50%. The buff to the exotic fixed my main issues with it, made it viable for spamming Blade Barrage constantly. You can expect to get your super in about 30 seconds with consistent knife kills. Let's get started. For this video, I was given some feedback from my clan leader Chip. He recommended that I talk through the game loop first, then proceed through the video normally. Let me know if this works out for you guys. You'll want to get kills with throwing knives to regen super energy faster. Hitting enemies with throwing knives will grant us and allies radiant and increase our outgoing damage. Continue this as much as possible until you get Blade Barrage. While this is going on, use your healing grenade to stay alive and provide restoration ×1. This will make sure that you don't get instantly one shot. When a submissive champion or boss shows up, punk them with the Blade Barrage and continue the loop. Rinse and repeat. With that out of the way, let's go over the abilities. Blade Barrage is the only super we can use because of Shards of Galanor. It's pretty good for a one-off super and serves as an ad clear and boss DPS tool. Gambler's Dodge is the only choice we have because the build focuses on throwing knives to regen our super energy faster. The melee ability is somewhat up to preference, but for ease of use, I highly suggest using Knife Trick. It throws a fan of 3 knives that scorch enemies on hit and is perfect for dealing with multiple weak adds. It still does decent damage to chunkier targets, so don't sleep on it. Healing Grenade is the safer choice for survivability since it provides cure and restoration. Aspects for the build are Knock 'em Down and On Your Mark. Knock 'em Down causes powered melee kills to fully recharge the melee ability while radiant. It also causes Marksman Golden Gun to last 4 seconds longer and makes Blade Barrage release 3 extra knives per fan. On Your Mark grants increased handling, reload speed, and a reload duration multiplier to you and allies for 12 seconds after getting a precision kill. This can stack up to 3 times, with dodging granting the maximum amount of stacks instantly. This time around, the fragments will be Ember of Beams, Combustion, Empyrean, Singeing, and Torches. Beams cause our Blade Barrage knives to home in on enemies, ensuring that we get more super energy refunded. Combustion causes our solar super kills to cause an ignition and spawn a fire sprite. Empyrean extends restoration and radiant effects by 4 seconds on solar kills, capped out at 12 seconds. Singeing grants 300% additional base class ability regenerate for 3 seconds after applying Scorch to an enemy. Finally, Ember of Torches causes powered melee hits to grant radiant for 8 seconds to us and allies within 8 meters. Time to go over the mods. On the helmet, I used Harmonic Siphon, Special Ammo Finder, and Font of Wisdom. Font of Wisdom can be swapped for Dynamo or Hands-On. For Shards of Galanor, I went with Heavy Handed, Impact Induction, and Font of Focus. The Cowboy Vest had melee damage resistance and 2 variable resistance mods. On the boots, I chose to go with Recuperation and 2 copies of Solar Weapon Surge. One of the Solar Weapon Surge mods can be swapped for Insulation if you want. Finally, the cloak had Bomber, Reaper, and Time Dilation. This build somewhat suffers in endgame content since adds are a bit tankier and hit harder. If you want to make this build work, you're going to need to spec into High Resilience, Discipline, and Mobility. Resilience will prevent our premature deaths, Discipline will give us more healing grenade uptime, and finally, Mobility will allow us to use our Gambler's Dodge more often, saving us if we mess up a knife throw. If you like throwing knives like Genji, without the nerfs, drop a sub. It helps me out a lot. Today's build has 3 weapon loadouts since there is a lot of flexibility. I encourage you to try out as many weapons as you want since there are too many to cover here. Weapon loadout 1 uses Wastelander, BXR Battler, and either Eyes of Tomorrow or Parasite. Wastelander is only used for close range damage and to buff our Knife Trick's damage via 1-2 punch. The preferred role for this build is Small Bore, Assault Mag, Lead from Gold, and 1-2 punch. Lead from Gold enhances our ammo economy and allows us to switch our Special Ammo Finder to a Heavy Ammo Finder if needed. 1-2 punch allows our knives to kill more consistently in higher level content. BXR Battler is a solar pulse rifle that will help us spread Scorch and give us more healing grenade uptime. Pulses received a pretty nice buff at the start of the season, causing them to deal 12.5% increased damage to minor and major enemies. This makes them feel better to use and pushes out their effective range just a bit. The role I am using is Arrowhead Break, Ricochet Rounds, Demolitionist, and Incandescent. Demolitionist allows us to regen healing grenades faster on kills, which is important in content with lower ad density. Incandescent spreads Scorch for light ad clear and helps proc Ember of Singeing. Eyes of Tomorrow was a fun choice I stumbled upon after looking through my heavy weapon options. It can fire multiple mini rockets at various targets after marking them, which is perfect when getting swarmed by ads. It also has a perk where defeating 4 or more combatants in a single volley increases the damage of the next volley and refunds ammunition. This buff stacks on top of Radiant and our 2 copies of Solar Weapon Surge. Parasite is the opposite of Eyes of Tomorrow and instead focuses solely on burst damage. The size and damage of the explosion scales with the number of kills scored before firing, up to 20 stacks. At 20 stacks, this gun can put out some insane burst DPS and outright kill certain champions. Paired with our buffs, you can probably put a massive dent in some bosses. Weapon Loadout 2 uses Conditional Finality, Callous Mini Tool, and Apex Predator. Conditional Finality is a fun weapon to use because it's pretty much a Doom shotgun. It's capable of doing some decent AoE damage via shatter damage and ignitions, which helps us when facing multiple heavy units. Like Wastelander, it can also be used to buff our knife trick damage. Frozen targets take 2.3 times more powered melee damage, so it's a perfect pairing. Callus Mini-Tool covers the same bases as BXR Battler, but is cuter and smaller. I prefer Callus Mini-Tool since it does more damage up close, which is our common engagement distance with this build. The role I recommend using is Small Bore, Flared Magwell, Unrelenting or Threat Detector, and Incandescent. Unrelenting will help us stay alive in firefights. On top of Healing Grenade, we will be much harder to take down and can weather many more shots. Threat Detector is a massive quality of life upgrade for the gun. It buffs stability, handling, and reload speed so that you can have a much more responsive weapon. Incandescent is on this gun for the same reason that it is on the BXR Battler. Apex Predator. Yeah, I just don't feel like explaining this one. Quick Launch, Impact Casing, Reconstruction, and Bait and Switch. Use enhanced perks. If you use normal ones, you're a moron. Weapon Loadout 3 uses Submission, Prometheus Lens, and Cataclysmic. Submission makes me feel like Sonic on snow, wink wink, since it is a lightweight frame SMG. Like Callus Mini-Tool, it helps us stay alive. Its Soul Drinker Origin perk heals us on reloads, with the amount increasing for the amount of kills scored. It's a solid weapon, and because it is kinetic, it will deal 50% more damage at base than Callus Mini-Tool. It won't, however, benefit from the double solar weapon surge. The role I use for almost all my builds is Fluted Barrel, Flared Magwell, Subsistence, and Frenzy. Prometheus Lens is like going to laser tag but bringing a military spec laser to deep fry your enemies' insides. This gun will be our primary Scorch applicator. Sustain damage to a target, apply Scorch over time, which is great already. The Catalyst doubles down on this by granting Incandescent to the weapon. Prometheus Lens ensures that Ember of Singeing is almost always active and grants us a constant backup dodge in case we mess up the game loop. It will also benefit from the Solar Surge mods we are using, so it isn't a slouch in the damage department. If you're not feeling it, you can try out Merciless for more straight up DPS. Just remember that that weapon does not scorch on kills. Lastly, we have Cataclysmic. It's a precision frame linear fusion rifle that hits pretty hard and has a great ammo economy. With our current ability setup, we can dish out some pretty insane raid boss DPS in a rotation. Cataclysmic can be crafted with 4 times a charm and bait and switch, making it a top pick for long range damage. When we consider Radiant and our surges, we're looking at a 97% damage increase. This thing will melt through champions easily, all you need is a little setup and range control. Alright guys, I have not slept for 2 days. I'm just kidding, but there is a lot of builds that I have to go through. I'm still happy that Bungie has started to look at underutilized exotics and make them better. While I'm still playing Hunter, I will likely release a Celestial Nighthawk build very soon. I still have to revise and polish a Warm Gothic Rest build soon, so yeah, I hope you guys don't feel too neglected. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and happy farming.